I've never been a big fan of Schumacher or Shoemaker products. I've had a couple. They always seem sort of cheaply made, mostly because the connectors just come apart. But I decided to give it another try. My neighbor bought one of these and has really liked it. And I need something to keep a couple of batteries charged with. I've got some batteries I'm using for a project. So I'm going to unbox this, show you what comes in the box, and I'm going to give it a try and we'll see how it works. So in the box you get the unit and this piece of paper. That's it. So don't need any of that because you know men don't read instructions. The failure point on most of these Schumacher products is this. First off, they don't mark the connector, the metal piece. So if the plastic sleeves come off these or tear up, you don't know which is positive, which is negative. Now this device is supposed to have polarity detection built in so that it won't attempt to charge if you reverse your poles, but you know, I've owned some before and that's not always the case. But let's see if you can get an up close view of this. These things are just not very well constructed. Now, I guess I should have said first off, this charger was $35 at Walmart. And the reason I bought it at Walmart was, again, I had to have something. Walmart's close by. I was sort of in a jam and needed something quick. And I've got a neighbor who's got one. He said he really likes it. He uses it all the time. This is only an 8-amp charger, so don't expect this thing to hook up and crank a big engine. It may crank something small, but definitely nothing big. There's no battery in this. This is just a charger. All it does is charge your battery, or like I said, it may jump off some sort of small engine, but definitely nothing big. But I'm going to plug it up to this little Everstart battery, which is also Walmart brand battery, which actually is pretty decent. You notice I've got two of these. I'm using them for a robotics project I'm working on, and they tend to do good. These are 10 amp hour batteries. They're 12 volts. So anyhow, I'm going to use this charger to charge this battery up, and then we'll be back. Okay, I guess I should show you how to hook this thing up. I went ahead and plugged it in. There's a green light on the front. Let's see. There's a light here that comes on if your clamps are reversed, right there. Tells you if you have a bad battery, tells you if it's charging, and if it's charged and maintaining. So essentially what you do is just plug this up to your battery. So I've got a negative and a plus. Our black goes on negative, and red goes on positive. Come on, get on there. Just like that. And then push the start button, and you can see it says charging. I'm going to stop it, and then I'm going to reverse my poles and show you what happens if you put these leads on backwards. So if you put the black on the positive terminal of the battery, and you put the red on the negative terminal of the battery, notice the red blinking light, polarity reversed. So it actually does do that properly. All right, so let's change these, put that back on, put this back on. Everything looks cool, no warning lights. So I'm just going to push start, and it's charging. So we'll let that sit for about 30 minutes and come back and see how it does. Okay, while that battery's charging, let me show you something. I went and got another Everstart battery today. This is an ES12BS. The BS means that there's a bottle inside of it with an electrolyte, an acid electrolyte liquid. So here's how this works. Just take the battery out. This battery is made for something like a four-wheeler or a motorcycle, something small. And It has a much longer shelf life if they don't put the acid in it until after you buy it and get it to your house. So there's the battery. It's just like the other one I've got. So the first thing you do is take the tape off this. And when you take the tape off, that exposes these holes. Maybe if I had some light, this would work. This would be easier to see. There we go. So, see the holes right there? All right, so we have to get the plastic off this. And notice the electrolyte bottle is the same size as the holes, okay? So you pull the top off these. And this is important. You do not pop these caps. So you take this, you put it upside down on your battery, and you just push it down really hard. Just like that. And then you let it sit. And what I meant to do before I actually started that was to put the entire thing on this pink top. So if any of the electrolyte flows out, it won't get on my workbench. But you may jiggle it back and forth just a bit. But if you can see, there's bubbles coming up in here, and that means the electrolyte fluid's going down in it. So after that's finished, you just put the plastic top back on it, and you let it sit for about 30 minutes to charge up. So we're going to do that, and then we'll test the voltage on it, and then we'll be back. Okay, all the electrolyte fluid has flowed down into the battery. And if you get any of this on your hands, wash your hands immediately, okay? Now that that's all in, we're just going to take this top, and this top was on our electrolyte fluid bottle. We're going to take it, push it down on the battery. Well, not like that. Push it down, and you have to make sure it makes a really good seal. It makes a tight enough seal that if this battery is turned upside down, none of the fluid will come out. So there we go. Now, what happened is the electrolyte fluid is interacting with the poles in the battery. This is a lead acid battery. It takes about 30 minutes, and then we'll test it, and we should have 12 volts. But for now, we're going to dispose of this, and I'm going to go wash my hands because I've got a little bit of this electrolyte fluid on my hands. And be back in a bit. Okay, the battery's been charging for about 45 minutes, and turn on my multimeter here. As you can see, we have 12.9 volts. So it's all charged up and ready to go to work. I want to talk for just a minute about this battery, just so I've noticed a lot of people buy these and they don't really understand what they're getting. And by the way, I discovered my charger has a hook on the top to hang it up to the pegboard. That's really nice. I like that. This battery, the liquid, a few minutes ago I was talking about the liquid. The liquid that's in here is, can you see it? Sulfuric acid. Whenever you buy a battery, look at the warnings on the side. Sulfuric acid this is a very low concentration of sulfuric acid, but a really high concentration of sulfuric acid would burn you pretty good. When I was assembling the battery earlier, I got some of the acid on my fingers, and it actually singed the end of my fingers because I went into the house and I forgot to wash my hands immediately. But it reminded me pretty quickly. Anyhow, this acid is dangerous. If you get it in your nose, do not breathe it in. If you get it in your eyes, call a poison control center immediately. They always say that on the box, but they don't have a number for the poison control center on here. So anyhow, just if you get it anywhere on you, wash your hands really good. Don't breathe it in. Make sure you don't inhale this stuff. These fumes will burn your lungs. But I want to talk for just a minute about the battery and explain what this is. You notice this is an AGM battery. AGM stands for absorbed glass matte. And here's exactly what it is. The way this battery is built, you put earlier I kept saying electrolyte solution. I think they call this an electrolyte solution because they don't want to put acid on the label anywhere. I think acid scares people off, but almost all batteries have acid. But here's the way this works. Inside this battery, you have two poles. And just for sake of simplicity, we're going to call them positive and negative. And in between the two poles, you have a fiberglass barrier. That's why it's called an absorbed glass mat. Your solution stays in this fiberglass barrier, and that helps do a couple of things. The number one thing it does is it helps avoid something called sulfation. Sulfation is when you have lead sulfide crystals build up on your poles, and it'll actually damage your battery. If you catch it soon enough, if you look at your battery voltage, over time your battery voltage is going to do that. And if you catch it soon enough in this region and you recharge it, you can reverse this sulfation problem. But if you let it go too long, you can have permanent damage to your battery. But anyhow, you have your poles, and then you got a fiberglass mat. This type of battery is meant to be recharged periodically. So if you have one of these AGM batteries, if you have it in a four-wheeler or motorcycle, and you don't ride every weekend, or you don't ride for 3 or 4 weekends in a row, periodically go and put your charger on it, put a trickle charger on it. And by the way, do not exceed, if you're going to recharge one of these batteries, do not exceed a 2 amp charger. Notice, what I bought was an 8 amp charger. That charger is good to use periodically, but if you put more than 2 amps into these batteries on a regular basis, you're going to damage your battery. And notice the one thing I don't like about this is there's no way to adjust your amperage on here. You can't tell it trickle charge or fast charge. This essentially is a fast charger. But if you put 8 amps into your battery frequently to recharge it, you're going to ruin your battery. So anyhow, just be careful. These batteries are pretty much maintenance free. And when you're not using it, if it's in your four-wheeler or motorcycle or whatever, don't leave it out in the rain a lot, because what I found over the years is that really, really humid or environments that are wet a lot will damage these batteries. And also, when you fill this thing up, make sure that you seal this up really good, because you don't want that sulfuric acid to leak out. It could, it'll burn whatever it gets on. So anyhow, that's it about the batteries. This battery has done pretty good. I just wanted to make the point that there is sulfuric acid in here. They call it an electrolyte solution, but they also call Pedialyte, that babies drink, an electrolyte solution. This is a dangerous acid in here. It's a low concentration, but it's strong enough to burn your fingers. It actually burned my fingertips a little bit. So just be aware of that, and be careful when you're dealing with these batteries. And if one of these tops ever pops off, you're not supposed to refill this with water. If you do, you're going to damage it. You have to refill with the same concentration of sulfuric acid, which, by the way, on the box, they don't tell you what the concentration is. They just tell you that it's a battery fluid acid. But, an interesting experiment would be to set a screwdriver in some of the sulfuric acid and see how long it would take it to burn through. But we'll do that another time. Anyhow, I just want to make the point that there's acid in this battery. It says AGM power battery, but it's still a battery that has acid in it. Okay, so just be careful. Okay, I want to take a moment to show you something else. I want to show you why you buy quality tools instead of buying the cheap junk the hardware store has on sale. This is a Hitachi compound miter saw, which is a decent saw. I've had it for, I don't know, a year and a half maybe. But I want to show you why you buy good tools. You see this right here? See that right there? When people unplug their cord, most people grab it like this and just pull it. They don't actually, grab it in the correct place and unplug it. And I've grabbed it like that 100 times probably to plug or unplug it. And you see that? That broke. And this is probably going to completely break where it won't even work within the next couple of times I use it. So If you buy the more expensive compound miter saw, or for that matter, any other decent tool, they're going to have reinforced plug-ins. They're not going to have cheap plug-ins like that. So, you know, a lot of people just want to buy something where they don't have to spend a lot of money, but you know, you're going to spend the money. You ever heard the term pay me now or pay me later? You're going to spend the money. Just eventually, just go ahead and buy something decent. You know, if you have to, sell some of your other junk on Craigslist. Buy a decent compound miter saw, buy a decent drill, buy a decent set of tools, decent chainsaw, whatever you're going to buy. Just buy good stuff. Don't buy cheap junk. You'll regret it. And by the way, here's a sneak peek at my next project. It's almost ready, so that'll be the next video. All right, see you then.